Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Ukraine This Week with me, Don Arleth. It's been quite an intense week in Ukraine. On Friday, the European Union approved its 18th package of sanctions targeting Russia's energy and finance sectors. However, the attacks have yet to stop, with the Kremlin's drones and missiles pounding civilian targets across the country. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has made a government reshuffle, the biggest since the full-scale invasion, nominating Yulia Svyrydenko as the new prime minister and Denys Shmyhal, the previous prime minister, taking over at the defense ministry. But before we talk to our guests, let's go ahead and watch this report from Ukraine over the past week.
Okay, thank you very much.
50 days. That's the deadline US President Donald Trump has issued for Russia to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine.
But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means.
Apart from threatening Russia with tariffs, Trump also approved additional arms deliveries for Ukraine, including ammunition and 17 Patriot missile defense systems, deployed through a deal with NATO and financed by European states.
But it will mean that Ukraine can get its hands on really massive numbers of military equipment, both for air defense, but also missiles, ammunition, etc., etc.
President Volodymyr Zelensky sounded an optimistic tone about Washington's backing.
I am grateful to President Trump for his willingness to support the protection of our people's lives. This war continues solely because of Russia, because of Putin's desire to prolong it.
Trump's Moscow maneuver comes as Russia repeatedly ramps up its air assaults on the war-torn country. And on the same day that Trump envoy Keith Kellogg arrived in Kiev for talks and to assess further Ukrainian needs. The European Union has greenlit the 18th package of sanctions against Russia, EU officials have said. This has been made possible after Slovakia was given guarantees over gas prices and ceased to veto the approval of the new package. The new raft of sanctions predominantly targets Russia's energy and finance sectors. The bloc imposed additional restrictions on companies benefiting from the Nord Stream gas pipeline and slashed the oil price cap, meaning companies won't be able to trade Russian oil above a strictly set limit. The sanctions also block Russian financial institutions from access to the SWIFT global payment system and clamp down on the so-called shadow fleet tankers used to transport Russian oil. Other provisions of the new package include fresh sanctions against entities that export minerals that could be used by the Russian defense industry. A major political shakeup brewing in Kiev. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has nominated 39-year-old economist Yulia Svyrydenko to become Ukraine's new prime minister, as Denys Shmyhal, who tendered his resignation, takes over the defense ministry.
The renewal of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine and the broader system of Ukrainian governance will ensure the implementation of new challenging tasks. Ukraine will gain more of its own strength. I am grateful to Yulia Svyrydenko. Thank you, Yulia, for your effective work in supporting Ukrainian production and entrepreneurship.
The new cabinet has their work cut out for them.
The first priority we will focus on in the next 6 months is the quality of army provision, increasing domestic weapons production, and enhancing the technological capacity of Ukrainian armed forces. We need to direct maximum efforts toward ensuring the self-sufficiency of Ukraine's economy.
Svyrydenko takes office just as Rustem Umerov moves from defense chief to secretary of Ukraine's Security Council.
Because there are no elections in Ukraine, people are still needing some renewal, some renovation, some feel that there are some changes. This is why the goal for this government revamp is also to show people that there is a new blood in. And so, of course, we wish to all the governmental officials only the best.
There are more changes in several positions, and the new cabinet is still taking shape. Ukraine's cities endured relentless Russian assaults this week. Moscow's drones and missiles pounded civilian targets across the country, including apartment buildings in Kiev and Kharkiv. Lviv, far from the front lines, was rocked by explosions, and residential areas were attacked in Sumy and Zaporizhia. Russian drones also struck a Polish furniture factory in central Ukraine. The attack saw the launch of 400 drones and one ballistic missile primarily targeting Kharkiv, Kryvyi Rih and Vinnytsia, 3 cities in different parts of Ukraine. The UN reports June's civilian toll as the highest in 3 years, and this week alone at least 5 major attacks struck Ukrainian cities. Official reports confirm at least 14 killed and over 60 wounded, though the true numbers may be higher as rescue efforts continue under the rubble. Behind each number is a life disrupted, a family broken.
And now joining us to discuss this week's developments and more is our guest, Oleksandr Korniyenko, the first Deputy Speaker of the Ukrainian Parliament. Hello, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and thank you so much for joining us on Ukraine this week.
Hello, dobry wieczór.
Now let's start with the government reshuffle. It's the biggest since the full-scale invasion. In your opinion, why was it needed and what exactly will it achieve?
So, we have a very important process. Of course, it's not something usual, of course, in time of war, but we need to become stronger, we need to become faster, we need to become more clear and more understandable to partners and to our society. Of course, we need to give support to our society. That's why our President Zelensky, chief and commander, and his political forces, a lot of people, majority of in parliament, decide to make some steps that will help to our government, to our public administration system, to our executive bodies become more effective. We talk about some very important steps. First of all, it's new Prime Minister, Yulia Svyrydenko. She was first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Economy. That was very, very successful in terms of spending some important program to rise up level of economical activity in Ukraine society. It's very important. Also, we talk about industrial potential of Ukraine and spending a lot of efforts, a lot of money to some sphere like military production, like food processing, like processing of energy, like processing something from our raw materials to become more powerful economy in time of war. It's all her results, it's all her efforts, and it's very, very understandable that she became new prime minister. If you talk about Minister of Defense, the most important minister in these hard times for Ukraine, former Prime Minister Denys Shmyhal, who worked for more than 5 years to become this Minister of Defense, and it's also an important step because his evidence and his experience in terms of ruling big systems like country and like Ukrainian economy and different other sectors will be very important in next days in Ministry of Defense, because we have very difficult task. We should to reform our defense sector. We should to reform our defense system in time of full-scale invasion. It's not a simple exercise, but we do, and we will do it next time. And I think Denys will be very, very able to do this. And if you talk about all other team, first of all, we need to understand that we cut part of ministries, we cut part of functions, and split them together and unite them together to become more efficient in this hard time, and in terms of some finances to this ministry, to these sectors, and of course in terms of some management reasons. It's more simple to rule by 15 ministries than by 20 ministries, for example. And most of this position, or guys who had this position before, or it's their first deputy, some first deputy representatives from some ministries. For example, former first deputy minister of finance, Denys Shmyhal, become minister of social policy and family policy, and another one. And it's one of the signs that social policy should to become more efficiency and more justice for people. If you talk about, for example, very important sector as EU integration to NATO. Taras Kachka become new deputy prime minister of this in this field, and he's one of our negotiator about EU integration, about this. Agriculture things very difficult with countries, with neighbors countries like Poland, for example. But he also was included to mineral deal with United States, and last as Prime Minister Svyrydenko as well also. That's why new team, new tasks, new horizons, but very important understanding that for Ukrainian people who are very, very tired about of war, who are very, very stressed and very, very big problem with mental health, we all need some new dynamic, we all need some new inspiration from the side of government to give this hope to people on the street, because situation is very, very comprehensive. More than 500 shaheds per night, missiles attacks, very big problem on battlefield, etc., and we need some inspiration and forces to overcome next weeks, next months.
Indeed. Now, in terms, when looking at this reshuffle and in terms of streamlining the government to be able to deal with the White House effectively, do you think that these changes reflect that, and that the government is set up in a different way now to handle the challenges in Washington, D.C.?
Absolutely. We also send our former Deputy Prime Minister about EU integration, Olga Stefanishyna, sent her to DC like special envoy, and she will wait next bureaucratic steps to become ambassador. And it's one of the signs that we are ready. We're able to change some approaches, to make some approaches more fruitful, to be more understandable to partners in DC. Now at Parliament level, we work both on with Senate and Chamber, with absolutely in this House, with Senate, with absolutely all our colleagues, senators, representatives from both parties, of course, but we also worked a lot with citizens of United States, from communities, with churches, with businessmen, and etc., and we need to explain what is going on in Ukraine and why it's so important. These efforts of President of the United States, Donald Trump, about making prolonged, lasting justice, peace for Ukraine, and that can start from unconditional ceasefire, that was promoted. This idea was promoted by President Trump in March. Now July, and we still haven't this ceasefire because of Russia, because of their absolutely aggressive and absolutely bloody position about making terror and attacks to Ukraine, etc. Of course, we will work more close with colleagues from DC, and we asked our colleagues from government what they will do, how it will be, and they all were very, very optimistic about next steps. Maybe you heard that President Zelensky announced next two deal after mineral deal, next two deal about drone deal and about weapon deal, and I think it's not bad for our in this time. Of course, we wait about this sanction support from the side of United States. And I think next week will be some news from our side. I think we will promote very, very important declaration about our attitude to Russia, about our attitude to sanctions. it will be one next, important step to our great American partners, to Lindsey Graham, to his colleagues, to promote this in Senate, first of all.
Right. I'd like to ask you about these, these two reports that we've heard about, A, the drones, and B, the weapon systems that Ukraine is encouraging other arms manufacturers to come to Ukraine and actually test these systems on the battlefield. First of all, do you have a lot of companies that are expressing their will to indeed do that, come to Ukraine and test some of these new systems on the battlefield?
I'm not military guy. I'm not, from defense industry. I think we have a lot of interest about Ukraine army possibility to test something through us. Of course, we are not, it's not some experimental lab for testing anything without any, condition. Of course, I know that our militaries will give permission to test, first of all, something that are needed right now for them on battlefield. Of course, it's understandable. It's life of our brothers and sisters. It's our territory. It's not something, it's not about joking. But I think some experimental thing like drones, sea drones, ground drones, of course air drones, like some system of anti-drone warfare, different way, like some, for example, robotic system that can help to evacuate our soldiers and to give to them some weapon, etc., etc. It's very interesting direction to collaborate, because you can't test it in some lab, not real field, because you will not observe a real result of how it works. And even this funny dogs and mechanical dogs that we all know from different videos from YouTube. Our soldiers use even this tool and even these dogs, and in battlefield condition it become very interesting part of not weapon but transporting and investigation system, because they use cameras, they use some night vision camera to build some roads to soldiers and to some logistic in army. And I think it's not it's not something that we can put in protocol how it will be, what it will be, where it will be, because it will be sometime occasionally cases how it can help in this part of battlefield right now, tomorrow, and what the outcomes can be.
Sure. I'd like to get back to the situation with Oleksandr now, who's going to eventually become the new ambassador. I'm interested why it took so long to make the decision to get rid of Ambassador Markarova, based on, when Donald Trump came into office and based on the challenges that Ukraine faced and President Zelensky faced with the new Trump administration. Ambassador Markarova, she carried a little bit of baggage from the old administration, and I'm wondering, why did it take so long to get these to get this change and put Ms. Stefanishina in?
United States is our the biggest partner, it's our the biggest friend, and of course we need to be very, very precision and very, very clear in our diplomatic decision. And I know that my president and his team, they very work hard time, and Andriy Yermak had a lot of time in DC to understand what the profile of ambassador will be the best, what's the profile, what's the kind of people need our colleagues, our partners from DC right now to work more efficiently, to work more faster. And it's not simple exercise, it's not simple task. Of course, we had several candidatures, several nominators, but Olga Stefanishina, it's one of the best. She have very beautiful skills and very good profile in terms of negotiation, because he formerly was our main negotiator in terms of EU integration. She get for our country in time of war. Candidate status, open of negotiations, and open of technically and politically process, and a lot of different victories on the field of NATO, and technically and politically. And I think it's one of the best and real next ambassadors that will be in the future.
Certainly. Now, what's the feeling in the administration amongst President Zelensky's ministers and you and there in Parliament concerning the latest discussions that were had on early July between President Zelensky and President Trump? Is there a feeling that President Trump is now starting to understand better the challenges the Ukraine faces? And do you feel that he's shifting, say, his position when it comes to supporting Ukraine? What is the general feeling there where you are in the Parliament?
You see Keith Kellogg were with his team. They were for 5 days in Kiev, near Kiev, and they spent a lot of time, a lot of work here. With fully respect to General Kellogg, he worked here in Kiev like our colleague from Parliament, like our colleague, I don't know, from government. He's made a lot of work, a lot of efforts, a lot of meetings with officials, with militaries. He was on our military camps and different industries, and it's one of the signs that administration start to be more involved in our process, in our Ukrainian matters, to understand better how it can be more realistic to receive this long and lasting peace in a short time. We know that President Trump gave to this conflict 50 days, and it was since 7 days ago. We have only 43. But we understand that it's time for Putin. It's not time for Ukraine, because Ukraine already ready to ceasefire, to unconditional ceasefire. But we think that it's this time we will do next a lot of efforts to increase our strengths, to increase our air defense strengths, to increase our drone production and other military production with the United States, with European partners all together. But we need to make stress on Russia. We understand that it's only one way to give to Putin strong signal to sit at the table and to find solution in diplomatic way, because Russia understands only language of forces, only language of battlefield, and only language of different stress from the different side, from sanctions side also. That's why we believe that next weeks will be more fruitful about our collaboration with DC, with President Trump, and about finding different solutions, how our both side interests, and United States and Ukraine and Europe, maybe three sides in this case, can be can work together, and how we can work together, and how all our interests can be satisfied on enough level.
Right. Well, we also heard about this $10 billion weapons package funded by European NATO countries purchasing U.S.-made weapons. But we don't really have too many details about exactly which weapon systems. I think it was President Merz that mentioned potentially long-range missiles coming into Poland besides the Patriot missiles that are on their way. Is there anything you can share with us on that front? What we can expect in this $10 billion package?
I guess it's better to leave to militaries to command these things. I, like politician, like Ukrainian citizen, I'm of course first of all I'm waiting about air defense missiles, because Shaheds, it's one of the challenges, but we on the way to find solution to these challenges, and I believe next next quarter, next 3 months, we will find a solution in industrial way, and this perhaps will not be such a big problem. But ballistic missiles, it's all-time problem because it's very, very big. It's very big explosions. It's very big problem for civilians all time, despite of target, even if the precision, but they are not all-time precision, unfortunately. We have a lot of explosion, lot of damages, and we know that storage of these ballistic missiles in Russia very, very huge, and we need to give answer to that. Of course, it's not bad if we will have some long-range tools to working with military objects inside Russia. Okay,
yeah, some cruise missiles would be nice. Well, listen, I'd like to move on now to the 18th sanctions package passed by the European Union. You know, from your optics there in Ukraine, do you think that this package could have been stronger? Is it satisfactory for you? What are your thoughts on this EU sanctions package that finally got passed through?
Oh, it's history with packages from EU. It's like something about new iPhones, you know, 16, 18, 17, 19. But as with these iPhones, it's also every next become more stronger and stronger. Yeah. Of course, but we asked about it from 2022 to cut to make price cap to oil because it's blood for Russian economy. It's blood for Russian military economy. It's blood for these shakeups and missiles who sending to us, you know, every night. But okay, after 3 years, we are very welcome to this package. We are very waiting for that, and of course about increasing level of ships who are involved in these schemes, and we talk about secondary sanction all this time, and we are very happy that this discussion in terms of secondary sanctions and in EU as in the United States become more and more louder, more and more concrete, and we wait next steps. Of course, for us, very important politically, and I would say it increased our inspiration about EU. It's what deal with Slovakia from the side of Commission. It's very, good news for us. It means that probably Commission can make deal and with Hungary about open of cluster to negotiations, and with Hungary, Slovakia about next packages about sanctions. We see that Commission have these tools, and we all time wait that these tools will use to give to Ukraine next steps, next hope about EU integration, first of all, and wait what will be next on the side from DC. I think it's a bit good news also.
Well, right, and less than 50 days, President Donald Trump giving that deadline for Russia to announce a ceasefire. Now, let's move on to these other sanctions from the United States, the secondary sanctions on India, on China. You just mentioned, and I hear this all the time, that Russia only reacts by force. That's the only way that Vladimir Putin responds. With this sanctions package, do you think that it'll have any impact on Vladimir Putin's ability to wage war, or will he make any other decision? Do you think he's concerned about these sanctions?
I think it's these sanctions what Lindsey Graham proposed more painful than all other one because it's about the main market to send oil, and China, India are the ones. I think it can be very painful to the economy in some perspective. Not in one day, but in some months can be more and more problematic. We know that Russia already used 80% of their special fund that they had before war, fund to next generation, something like that. But they already lose this part of this money, and it is a good sign because we have some good signs from field that some governors start to ask money from Moscow, etc. We have interesting discussion inside the economists and some bankers about how we should overcome this inflation, etc. It's all good science, but in terms of such big country like Russia, you all time need time to some process, to some social process, to understanding of people that it's not good to live in condition without big money, only with small money. Of course, it's
Right,
not
so it could
about
take some...
Russia, some villages, but I think it can be.
So it could take some time to bite. Now, in the event that Russia announces a ceasefire, will there be a fresh round of elections in Ukraine?
Of course, we need time. It's not, it's very sophisticated. If we can make some election without security guarantees and without understanding how we will live in this ceasefire condition, it's not such simple to say that, of course, yes, today will be. Not. We need to understand that it will be totally security in Ukraine and totally security for some long time. And of course, we need time to reshuffle our legislation because we are not ready in terms of our procedures and our infrastructure to election. We hadn't pull station, Russia damaged them. We hadn't normal real register of voters, and it all need some time, some 2, 3, 6 months to prepare. And but we very able that as it will be possible by security reason. Of course, we need election because we are democratic country, and we already lose presidential, parliamentary, and in 2 months we will lose local election, and it's all kinds of forces in Ukraine will be not elected for a long time, and it's not good for democracy. But it's not our choice. It's circumstances from this terrible war.
Somewhat of a lasting peace in order to get to those elections.
A lasting peace with understanding of totally security frame to this election, because election process is not only election day. It's some meetings, it's some advertising, it's some lists, and some discussion in 2 months. We need this peace, first of all, lasting peace.
Okay, but indeed it's complicated, and we're still far, far away from any potential ceasefire. Oleksandr Korniyenko, First Deputy Speaker of the Ukrainian Parliament, thank you so much for joining us today. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's all the time we have on Ukraine this week. Join us again next week for all the latest developments from the war in Ukraine. Thanks for watching, and see you then. Goodbye.